All right, welcome Algebra 2 kiddos. Let's check this out. And I'm going to fly through this review as quickly as I know how. And I might be a little sloppy in my writing, so I apologize in advance. But I'll talk through what I'm doing here and my thinking process, and hopefully that impacts your thinking process. So I'll just talk through this one. Feel free to scrub through to the best parts and the things that you need. And keep working hard, guys. The test is going to be great. Here we go. Number one. It says evaluate expression. The word evaluate just means plug in those values. And so if A is the same as 16, that means everywhere you see an A, you can put a 16. And if B is negative 2, everywhere you see a B, put a negative 2. The only trick on these is to use, I'm going to say it, parentheses. That's right. Oh, there's another B hiding there. All right. Use parentheses all day. Then once you use parentheses, the calculator can pretty much handle the rest. And so let's try this out. So this is going to be negative. Now it would be so easy to make a mistake here. So negative 16 parentheses. See how I do parentheses? Make sure you use them. All right, here we go. Negative 2. And sometimes, this little pro tip. I'm going to start this over with a little pro tip. Watch this. Okay. If I write the whole expression here with no letters and just put parentheses where letters were, watch this. Look how quick that was. And I just wrote out with the holes there. And I just put big holes wherever the letters are. Now I'm just plugging the letters in and I'll be happy. All right, so let's watch how fun this is. This is negative 16. And this is negative 2 where the B was. Another negative 2 where the B was. Negative 2 over here. Negative 16 here. Now, at this point, technically, the calculator can handle all of this mess, but we're not in course 1 anymore, so we can handle this. This is going to be 32. 2 negatives make a positive, and then another negative is negative 32, and all this works out when the dust settles. Plus negative 10. Okay, plus, let's see, negative 16 minus negative. Remember SMATO? Subtract means add the opposite. So I got a negative 16 and a 2. That's negative 14 divided by negative 7. So that's negative 14 over negative 7. That's going to give me a positive 2. Okay? I'm doing that right? Yeah, I'm doing that right. All right. Now we're going to combine everything up. This is negative 42 plus 2. That's negative 40. And there you go. Okay, easy. You could even plug this whole mess into the calculator if you really felt like typing. But there it is. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Number 2, camera costs $183. Not a great camera, apparently. It's being offered at a 25% discount. Find the sale price of the camera. All right, so a good way to think of this is you're offering it at 25% discount. There's a couple ways to think about this. You could take the original price, which is $183, and you're going to multiply it by 1 minus 0.25. Okay, it's basically the 1 gives you original price minus the 25% discount. Of course, if it's 25% off, that means it's 75% on, if that's a good way to think about that. And let's see if I can pull the calculator in without it crashing. It looks like we're good. So this will be 183 times 0.75, and happy birthday 137.25. And that looks good to go. Cha-ching. Okay, cost varies directly as the number of items purchased. When you see the word directly, spell it with a K because y equals kx. Now, so you can do a y equals kx if they need that constant of variation. If not, if it's a thing where they give you like 3 numbers like this, they are wanting you to use realize they're proportional. So 14 is to 77. And why is that true? It's because y equals kx, which means 14 over 77 equals k, and something over 50 over something, we'll call it x, is also equal to k. Maybe I shouldn't use x because I already defined x, so let's use P for price. I don't know. All right, but because both these things equal k, because it's a constant, they must equal each other. and now I can use proportions here. So cross multiply. 14p equals 77 times 50. I don't feel like multiplying that out, so 77 times 50, 3850, and we'll divide that by 14. 275 equals p. Cha-ching. On a roll. Let's keep it going. Find the constant of variation for this data set. So constant of variation kind of is the thing that just that k if it's direct variation. So let's just see what the data is doing here. So when I go from 2 to 3, this one's going up, this one's going down. Okay, so when one's going up, one's going down, what does that tell you? Okay, it sounds like it's a situation of you know, either direct variation or inverse variation. So if it's inverse variation, remember how it was y equals kx is direct. And direct, remember you do thumbs up. If one's going up, the other's also going up. And one's going down, the other's going down. Well, remember y equals k over x is inverse. And that means if one's going up, the other one's going down. Use your thumbs to figure that out, all right? So up, down kind of thing, inverse variation. Now, cool thing with inverse variation, how do you find k here? How do you find k? Well, how do you solve for k? Solve for k, just multiply both sides by x. So in other words, xy, every xy equals a k. Every xy equals the same, should equal the same number. So just check each of these triples here and see if they give you the same number. So 2 times 3 9er, 78. 26 times 3, 78. 6 times 13, 78. So what is k? K equals 78. This is your constant of variation, and it's an inverse variation. That's the key on this one. Notice the inverse. One goes up, the other goes down. Okay? Expansion by minors. Tell these minors to quit expanding. All right, so expansion by minors. I'm debating whether even to ask you to do this one. You know, let's hold this off from the test. So if you see this one on the test, let's use the calculator. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves of the calculator process here. We're going to find the determinant. So let's go to matrix. So go to matrix in your calculator. It's a 3 by 3. Oops, I got to go to matrix, edit. Okay, go over to edit. Now I'll edit matrix A and just type your numbers in there. So this would be 7, enter. 1, enter. 3, enter. 7, enter. -7, enter. 5, enter. 2, enter. 2, enter. 4, enter. All right, once all your things are entered, now you're going to go back to your home screen, clear things out here. You're going to go matrix, math, which is the middle button there, hit determinant, and then go to matrix again, pick matrix A under names, and bam, -200. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to do the expansion by minors on this test. Okay, if this question appears on the test, which I don't think it will, but if it does, go ahead and use your calculator on that. Okay. All right, number 6, hg of -18. Now, remember this notation? You guys remember this notation? This is basically saying, hey, it's like f of x or something like that. This is the machine, and the hg is telling you what to do. It's saying whatever h is or whatever function h is, you're going to multiply it by whatever g is. And what are you going to put in for those x values? A -18. So there's your h of x and your g of x. In other words, h of x is just equal to, and what you can do is just put -18 in there, plus 15, which is -3. And then you can also go over here and let's do g of x for -18. -18 plus 5 is -13. Okay, so now what they want us to do is multiply h times g, and this is the best way to do this, to put in each of them in separately and then go ahead and multiply h times g. So what is -3 times 13? That's positive 39. So you could say hg of negative 18 is 39. So remember, this is not h, some variable h and variable g. This is a notation thing. In other words, this is the way they're telling you what to do. Don't even touch that left side. That's all just like telling you what to plug in and what to multiply by what. All the action happens on the right of this equation. Okay, so there's your answer. All right, let's look into 7. There are 10 places to sit at the table. How many ways can 10 people be seated at the table? Anytime you get these kinds of problems, just make some seats. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. So I got 10 seats at the table. How many options are there for the first one? You get 10 people to choose from. Now you've seated one, so now there's only 9 people and 8. Okay, and all these are independent, so just dot, dot, dot. And a little shortcut on the calculator is you can put 10 and then under math, I believe it is. Math, is it probability? Yes, there it is. Math under over to probability, hit 4, and you get like 10. It's like 10. Very excited 10 with that exclamation point. And there's the magic number 3628800. So a lot of ways you can arrange that one. Fun, right? All right, let's move on to the more Algebra 2-y kind of stuff. Stuff some of you guys are good at, some of you still struggle with this. So let's make sure we're mastering this time around. Show me what you can do. All right, I like to focus just on one thing at a time. Also remember Mr. T's exponent chart. That's a helpful thing in the grand scheme here. Plus or minus, multiply and divide, and exponents. Okay, powers. All right, so let's go through here, and what I'm just going to focus on cleaning up the top and then cleaning up the bottom a little bit, and see if we can make this a little bit easier problem. So things I like to focus on first is the exponent. So let's work in order of operations here. I'm going to work on fixing these two exponents, and then I'm just going to rewrite it. So this is x to the negative 4. Just leave that alone for now. Now I've got a power raised to a power. Now you say to yourself, hey, power raised to power, little numbers are a little slow. So that means when I'm raised a power to a power, just go to the left one, and they are multiplying. So this is negative 3 times negative 3. Oh, that's going to be doable. So this is x to the negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Okay. Now, y to the negative 2, so leave that alone. Okay. Now this next one is an x and a y raised to, the y is to the third, the x is alone, and we're raising that to the negative third. So kind of like distribution, you're still going to multiply it like before, so it's going to be 3 times the 3, and this x has a 1, so the negative 3 is going to multiply by that 1, and I think we'll be good. So let's see what happens here. This is x to the, let's see, negative 3 times 1, that's negative 3, and y to the negative 9er. Cool. All right, on the bottom, let's do the same thing. Let's focus in on the stuff that needs a little attention here, these parentheses, and then this will be easy once we get going. All right, so I think this is a 3-step process, so let's see if I'm right. So I'm going to raise the power to a power. Again, multiply. These are not difficult little things, just gotta be patient. So negative 24, and I get y9, leave it alone. It's got nothing going on right now. And then x to the, and then this is going to be 12, positive 12 there, because I got negative times a negative. All right, let's go to the next step, next layer. All right, so now I'm just going to focus on, this is a good process here. Take care of that to clean the top and bottom up. All right, now let's consolidate the top and the bottom. So this is going to be x to something, y to something, and the bottom is also going to be x to something, y to something. Then we'll do the final step of simplifying. So go to your chart, and we are now multiplying all these bases. Notice how this is all just multiplying. When you multiply bases, what do exponents do? They're adding, okay? So we're going to add these numbers up, and so let's look at all the x values here. I got x to the negative 4. I got x to the 9th. I got x to the negative 3. So what are you going to do with those numbers there? Add them up. So 9 and a negative 4 is positive 5, and a negative 3 is 2. So this is just going to be x squared when all is said and done. Let's make it purple. All right, now y, what would y end up being? Well, I got a negative 2 and a negative 9, so this is all going to be, again, adding the exponents, negative 11. Be real patient with these. This is an easy one if you're patient. All right, now the bottom. Let's look at the bottom. I've got my x's. I got this one and this one to add up. So I got a negative 24, positive 12. That's a negative 12, so this would be good. And my y's, let's see, it's just, well, there's nothing to combine there, so that's just y to the 9th. Okay, good stuff. All right, now we're at the final stage. This is easy now, all right? So now we're going to be dividing. Well, when we divide, everybody, what do exponents do? Whoop, go to negative. So we're going to be subtracting these exponents, and it's going to make this look really nice when we're done. So here we go. This is going to be x to some power, y to some power. So let's do 2 minus negative 12. So that's the key here. 2 minus negative 12. So even though you didn't look like it, it was 2 minus negative 12. That's because we're dividing. You're going to subtract, even though it's negative, you'll subtract the negative. And so 2 and negative 12, this is going to be, change it to adding. So this is x to the 14th, which should be right. And y, and then we're going to go to negative 11. Ready? Negative 11 minus 9er. So signs are the same. Well, there we go. Same, find the sums. You can motto that. Same, find the sum. And I'll add them up, and that's 20. And give them that sign of 20. Okay, so this is negative 20. Now the only thing, I guess I needed one more step. The only thing I needed here is to make this 14 over y to the 20. That way it's looking legit. Okay, so hopefully you nailed that one. It wasn't too hard, but you know, took some work. Good job. Alrighty, let's solve for x here. Okay, the key on this one, I'm totally cool with you using the calculator on this one, but you just have to kind of remember what the process is to get there. So this is a plus x. Okay, so the temptation would be to use a inverse b and all that stuff. You ain't got to do that. Okay, this is going to be a plus x equals matrix b. Now you can throw those in the calculator if you want. I think this is simple enough to not worry about it. Now you can subtract, or you can multiply by add the inverse if you want to. You can motto that and add the inverse. So how do you get x by itself? That's the key. Look at this right here. This plus sign tells you that it's a plus x. If it was a times x, you'd have to use inverse matrices and all that. This is not that. So I'm just going to subtract a from both sides, or multiply, a negative a. Add a negative a to both sides. Maybe that's a good way to look at it. Let me rewrite it over here. So plus a negative a. Okay. We say subtract a, but it's really negative 1 times the whole a. And then you get a by x by itself. So I get x here, okay, equals b plus a negative a. Okay, so just kind of treat these like variables and then go back and see what you're supposed to do. So I want b, which is all of this one here, and I'm going to subtract a, or multiply by the negative. So let's just write that real quick. So this would be b, would be 3, 6, 3, 12, and negative a. Well, negative a, if I multiply that negative through there, it's going to be the opposite sign. So this is 3, negative 5, positive 1, negative 5. Now we'll add those up, and this will give me what x is. So just add the things that are in the same place. So this guy and this guy, this guy and this guy, this guy and this guy. So don't get this confused with multiplication. Nothing told you to multiply here. So make sure you're good on that. All right, so this would be 6, and this would be 1, and this would be 4, and 12 minus 5 is 7. So 6147, and we are good to go. Okay. I'm not even going to talk about this one. If you can't handle this one, we got different kind of problems. All right, so 21. I'm sure you didn't even watch that one. So onward we travel to number 11. Okay, how do you solve this system? Okay, there's a lot of ways to solve a system. I don't know why these things get printed here, but whatever, just ignore them. So the main thing on this one is, pick which way you're going to solve them. You got all the options in the world. You can use elimination. You can use, one of my favorites is matrices. If you know how to use matrices, that's a really nice trick. But ultimately, it's up to you. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. First thing I'm going to do is get them in order. So let's rewrite these. This would be, let's flip the sides here. So this is negative 12x minus 10y equals negative 66, which I could easily divide everybody by something to make that a lot simpler. But if I'm going to do matrices, it won't matter. So negative 8x. All right, now I'm going to add 4y to both sides. So this will be negative 8x plus 4y equals 116. So I'm going to do matrices here. If you want to use elimination or solve for y and try graphing or something like that, that's okay too. The only catch with elimination or with using the calculators, you might not recognize what's going on when you have parallel lines or when you have lines that are overlapping. So let's take a look real quick and make sure if it all works out. If you ever hit a snag, just solve them all for y and you'll see what's going on. But other than that, I think matrices is probably the easiest way to go. So put your coefficients in a matrix. This is negative 12, negative 10, negative 8, and positive 4. Okay? Now put your variables in a matrix, x and y. And put your constants in a matrix, negative 66 and 116. Okay, so now you got all these things in matrices. Things are looking up. All right, this is A times, okay, this is matrix X. Oops. This is matrix X, big X, okay? And this is your unknown matrix. And this is going to be your solutions. And then the other thing is the constant matrix, which we'll put in as B. Okay, so now let's pull in the calculator. And we'll go to matrix. And I'm going to edit, oops, got to go matrix, edit. I always forget to do that. Here we go, matrix, edit. And I'm going to change it from a 3 by 3, which I think I can do. Do I have to go over for that? All right, I got to go way up here. All right, 2 and 2. So 2 rows, 2 columns. Pretty simple. Negative 12, enter. Negative 10, enter. Negative 8, enter. And 4, enter. Okay? Make sure you practice these steps too, because this will be good for you. All right. Now, I've got all my matrix looking good. Oops. I got to go. Let's get out of here and let's go to matrix, edit B. And I want B to look like just a 2 by 1. So let's go up to there and do 2 by 1. And that's good. I got negative 66 and 116. Bam. Okay. So that's all she wrote. Now I'm going to go back to the home screen. Now, here's the trick on this one. How do you get x by itself? Okay, how do you solve for x? And the key on solving for x is to get rid of this a. How do you get rid of a? By multiplying by a inverse. Okay, let the calculator do it, but multiply by a inverse. All right, if this one gets multiplied by a inverse, this one does as well. They always got to be on that same side of the matrix or you got a problem. Okay, so it's going to be x. The answer matrix is equal to a inverse b. So let's see what a inverse b. Let the calculator do this part. So it's going to be matrix A. Oops. Matrix. I can't win here. Names A. Inverse. This right there. That -1 thing. All right. A inverse times matrix B. Hit enter, and I got -7 and 15 as my answers. What does this mean? This means literally that x equals little x equals -7 and little y is 15. Okay, or you could write it as an ordered pair, -7, 15. Okay, so it gives me the answers right there, x and y, because they're in these places here. Okay, So kind of fun. If you choose to do elimination, it wouldn't be bad, especially on a two equations, stuff like that. Totally fine. But I like to practice these because it's good for a 3x3 as well. All right, solve the inequality and graph the solution set. Let me see if I can get one or two more done, and we'll be good. So solve the inequality. Notice there's one variable here, which means you are going to have one axis when you're doing your solution to this one. Okay, so let's do first things first. Divide both sides by -10. So I get 7 plus b. Because I divided by a negative, flip your sign. Okay, if you didn't remember that, that's okay. We'll use a test point to see. And this is going to be a -10. Okay, so 100 divided by -10 is -10. All right, and then we'll subtract 7, subtract 7, and b is greater than or equal to -17. Okay, and how do you graph that? Well, just you can put 0 on there, and 5, 10, 15, 16, 17. All right, so you put this will be a filled in circle. I should have extended that a little bit further. A filled in circle, headed this direction, and that's all you got to do. Good enough for an answer. All right. Let's do one last one, and then we'll take a break. All right, car traveling 51 miles an hour uses 2 gallons of fuel. The fuel tank has a capacity of 10 gallons. Let t be the time in hours. Write parametric equations for x and y in terms of t. Okay, so we're going to need some things in here. T stands for the time in hours. X is the distance traveled, so 51 miles per hour. So the distance traveled is equal to how long you travel, or the t value. So x equals the distance you travel is the speed, so 51 miles per hour times the time, right? Distance equals rate times time, dirt. It's the same formula. So x equals 51t, and then the number of gallons remaining in the fuel tank. You're starting at 10, okay? So y equals 10, and then every hour that goes by, 54 miles uses 2 gallons of fuel. The fuel tank, so I guess every hour it uses 2 gallons of fuel. So minus 2 per hour, like that. Okay, so just leave the t in there, and I think you're good to go. Good stuff. All right. I think we should take a break, but I want to do just this one more. Okay. All right, so look right here. I've got these common terms here, so that's a good thing. And are there any other common terms to add up? Sure. Here's a 2 and this -25. Now, one smart thing you can do on these is just SMATO everything. Now you're saying, why do I got to SMATO everything? It's just going to make life simpler for you, trust me. Okay, it makes everything adding, which means it can move around no trouble, and you can drop parentheses. All right, so this is going to be 8x to the 4, nothing you can do there. I got a 10x squared and a -5x squared, so 10 and a -5, that's just 5. So plus 5x squared. The next term would be -6. You could put plus negative or minus 6x. And then the last one, -25 and +2. Signs are different. Find the difference. That's 23, and it's -23. Okay, so I think that one's good as well. And because we're having fun, let's do one more. I'm going to say this all night. All right, 50 yards to inches squared. Okay, so the key is knowing your conversions. So start out with 50 yards squared. Remember that, and then we multiply by conversion units. Okay, so to get square things, first thing, it would be helpful to know how many inches are in a yard. That'll take you a nice shortcut. If you just knew feet and then went to yards, that's fine, but I think it's easier. I know 36 inches makes a yard. So yards are on top, so put yards down here. So 1 yard is 36 inches. But that will only cancel out one of my yards. I'm dealing with square things here, so I need another one. 36 inches squared. Oh, it's not squared. 36 inches is 1 yard again, put the same conversion factor, and watch what happens to my units here. The yards squared cancels out with this one, and now I just multiply across. Couldn't be easier. 36 times 36 times 50, and that's 64,800. Oops. And it'd be inches squared because I got inches here and inches there. Okay, so kind of a good trick you can use for converting. All right, easy one here, number 16. We're going to FOIL. Okay, first times first. It's going to be positive 12x squared. Outer is going to be negative 24x. Inner is also negative 24x. And last, 8 times 6 is 48. Okay, so combine your similar terms here. The O and I go together, right? Let's put those together here. Let's be negative 48x. And so then my final answer is just all those things, 12x squared minus 48x plus 48. Woohoo! All right. This is easy one. Again, h and g put together. That's h plus g. That just means add the two things together. So add this one and this one. You can do it before. Yeah, you just got to do it like this. So if they want to have x, they didn't give me a specific thing to plug in. That means they just want me to add the two things together. So h plus g of x is simply notation. Do not touch it. This doesn't mean subtract h from both sides. Do not do that, please. This is notation, so leave it alone. Now do what it tells you. It tells me to add h and g together. What is h of x? Well, that's 2x minus 10. What is g of x? Well, that's negative 3x minus 14. Okay, let's add them up. Okay, so this is 2x and negative 3x. You could smatto if that would help you a little bit. So this is, okay, well, it's already negative, so leave that alone. All right, so and anywhere you see a plus sign, or adding sign, you can, or excuse me, a subtraction sign, you can turn it into a negative. This is the point of that. Subtract means add the opposite. All right, anyway, 2x and negative 3x is negative x, and negative 10 and negative 14 is negative 24. So what's the moral of that story? This is your function, okay, your combined function there. All right, and while we're having fun, let's do this one real quick. Factor this bad boy. This is going to be x and x, and I got a perfect square here. Look for GCFs first, then perfect squares. So this is 12 and 12, both are plus, so this will be plus, plus, done. Slope is 4, passes through the point. What's the equation of the line? Remember, y equals mx plus b. Use this x and y, use this for m, and then figure out what b is, and you're done. So my y is 3, plug it in. My m is negative 4, plug it in. X is negative 2, you guessed it, plug it in. And b is unknown. So I'll multiply those. This is positive 8. Okay, plus b. Subtract 8, and b equals negative 5 when you do that. Okay, so b is negative 5, and what that means for us is my slope, so y equals negative 4x. They gave me that slope, right? Negative 4x. That's an ugly 4. Let's try again. All right, negative 4x minus 5. I got the m, I got the b. This is my answer. Okay? Good stuff. All right. All right, last one for real. This is a good halfway point. So convert this to standard form. What is standard form? This means just multiply it out. So don't fret here. I just got to know how to FOIL this guy out here, and I'm good. So I'm going to just use y for now. Y equals negative 4 parentheses. All right, what does x plus 5 squared look like? Okay, well remember, this is x times x, so that's x squared, plus the outer would be 5x, inner would be 5x. This is 10x, and then plus 25. And now we got to multiply all that by this 4 right here. So don't drop those parentheses quite yet. Negative 4x squared minus 40x. Okay, And then 4 times 25 is 100, so minus 100 minus 25. 26. Wow, I wrote that wrong the whole time. Sorry about that. 26. That's 26. And so now our new equation, negative 4x squared minus 40x minus 100, 126. Okay? Good stuff. All right, we made it to the halfway point. Good job, everybody. Keep working hard. Appreciate you.